Hello, Granite Staters. Welcome to $100 plus mileage. This is your podcast about legislation in the state of New Hampshire that might not make the news, but could definitely still impact you. I'm Mike Dunbar, and I'm joined by our resident policy wonk, Anna Brown, to unpack a bill that definitely merits unpacking. I'm talking about SB 366, a bill described by some as prohibiting Chinese companies from purchasing real estate near military bases in the state. As we'll soon find out, the bill actually goes much further than that. Anna, let's set the stage here. Why are legislators targeting Chinese land purchases?
Well, from the proposed TikTok ban to the infamous Chinese spy balloon that drifted across the United States last year, many American lawmakers have called for new laws defending against the threat of Chinese espionage. If you sift through the headlines, you'll find plenty of examples accusing the Chinese government of clandestine snooping. In fact, just last week, President Joe Biden issued an order blocking a Chinese backed cryptocurrency mining firm from owning land near a Wyoming nuclear missile base, calling its proximity to the base a national security risk.
Right. So the basic premise here is that if Chinese companies buy property near sensitive areas, they could be hoping to spy on their neighbors, that is to say, the U.S. military. Enter SB 366, I suppose.
Exactly. SB 366 would prohibit any company based in China or linked to the Chinese government from owning, leasing, or controlling property within 10 miles of military installations or critical infrastructure. The bill's definition of critical infrastructure offers insight into the bill's intent. So it says, critical infrastructure means systems and assets, whether physical or virtual, so vital to the United States or the state of New Hampshire that the incapacity or destruction of such systems and assets would have a debilitating impact on security, national economic security, national public health or safety, or any combination of those matters.
Okay, so when I think critical infrastructure, I'm thinking power plants, major airports, stuff like that.
So, yes, but the examples of critical infrastructure given in the bill text are very broad. It includes facilities related to energy, water, healthcare, transportation, and communication systems, kind of like you said. The bill also includes less predictable examples like restaurants, banks, and national monuments.
Okay, restaurants. So you're saying that the McDonald's down the street would qualify as critical infrastructure under this bill?
Given the wording of the bill, it certainly seems that way. I guess the pandemic taught us that people are incapable of cooking for themselves. We'll all just die if we can't get takeout. I also have a question whether national monuments are, critical infrastructure. Plus, I went down this rabbit hole. I don't even think we have a national monument in New Hampshire.
Yeah, and also, like, what technically qualifies as national monument? I'm sure there's a specific definition of that out there somewhere. We'll leave that for another day. Well, before we unpack that can of worms, we should point out that SB 366 is just one of many state level bills across the country aimed at restricting domestic land purchases by Chinese owned companies. In fact, more than two-thirds of states have enacted or are considering such laws. The largely Republican led effort posits that land purchases, quote, are not being adequately controlled by the federal government, so states are acting on their own, close quote, as Indiana Republican State Representative Kendall Culp put it. His bill, introduced in the Indiana State Senate, lists several foreign countries in its land purchase ban, including China, North Korea, and Iran, among others. Some feel these bills are mostly political theater, though, right? I mean, given that other foreign countries own a lot more American land than China does.
Yes, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's 2021 statistics showed that just 1% of the 3.4 million acres of U.S. farmland in foreign ownership was Chinese owned.
Okay, well, we said at the top the federal government has been taking a closer look at this. Most recently, this month, the Federal Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States adopted President Biden's proposal to review land sales made to foreign investors within 100 miles of 8 high priority U.S. military installations. Our bill goes well beyond farmland and military bases, though. This had a public hearing in the House not long ago. Did legislators raise these concerns?
Yes, at the public hearing on May 1st, legislators teased out significant possible consequences of passing the bill. Since the bill concerns property within 10 miles of not only military bases, but also restaurants, banks, and other commonplace establishments, it would effectively ban Chinese investment anywhere in the state, not just near military bases. Similar legislation enacted in Florida, which is now being challenged in federal court, has caused confusion over who can and can't purchase property in the state.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of states are modeling their bills on Florida's, so the fact that it's been taken to court doesn't bode especially well. I see here that only one person testified against the bill at the hearing, though.
Yes, Robert Johnson, policy director for the New Hampshire Farm Bureau Federation, testified against it. He pointed out that there are legitimate agricultural research companies and high value log storage operations owned by Chinese companies that bring significant revenue to the industry. While he acknowledged the importance of protecting military installations from potential espionage, he suggested the bill should be held for further study.
Yeah, I watched the hearing too, and it seems like the bill's sponsor was surprised by how sweeping her bill was. That's not as uncommon as you might think. Often, when bills are based on those in other states, language from elsewhere is adopted from model legislation, and legislators who, remember, only earn $100 plus mileage for this gig might not fully wrap their heads around the language that's in their own bill.
I really appreciated the moment when a committee member asked about the restaurants part, and the sponsor was like, "This bill isn't about restaurants." And the committee member was like, "Well, they're listed in the bill." So,
Right. Well, SB 366 passed the Senate with a unanimous vote.
pause.
Uh,
Major differences between the House and Senate yet again. It doesn't matter that they're both covered by Republicans. I just got to point this out, people, okay? Unanimously passed in the Senate, and now it's major opposition in the House. So,
right. So again, SB 366 passed the Senate with a unanimous vote. The House Commerce and Consumer Affairs Committee agreed that the bill was too broad in its current form and would need significant changes. It was sent to a work session, but legislators there decided to recommend killing the bill rather than trying to salvage it. Now the bill will go before the full House for a vote on May 23rd. Remember, just because the committee recommended killing the bill, the House can still choose to pass it. A recommendation is just a recommendation, after all. If you have an opinion on this bill, find out who represents you and let them know where you stand by visiting the elected officials page on our website at citizenscount.org/elected-officials. Anna, I know it's time for us to move on to our Only in New Hampshire segment, but I feel like I could keep going on this bill. Alas, we better leave it here for now. Give us a little New Hampshire trivia to round out the show today.
okay, well, we've been talking about military bases, so let's reflect on a famous base here in New Hampshire, not too far from our Citizens Count offices. Portsmouth Pease Air Force Base was originally a municipal airport built in 1930. The U.S. Navy took it over during World War II. They considered, but ultimately decided against, using it for patrol planes searching for Nazi submarines offshore and to defend the nearby Portsmouth naval shipyards. Then, in 1951, amid the Cold War, it was transferred to the U.S. Air Force and designated as a Strategic Air Command base in 1956. The base hosted two nuclear bomber wings, the 100th Bombardment Wing and the 509th Bombardment Wing, the latter being the successor to the squadron that dropped the atomic bombs on Japan. Pease expanded significantly and housed B 47 Stratojet bombers capable of reaching the Soviet Union with atomic bombs. With the rise of ICBMs and after several bomber accidents, however, bomber bases like Pease declined in importance. The 100th Bombardment Wing was deactivated in 1966. But that wasn't the end of the story. Though it was closed in 1991, a section was repurposed for Air National Guard operations and industrial development, while the rest was transformed to the Great Bay National Wildlife Refuge in 1992. And we could start talking about the PFAS pollution left
Right.
behind. But for the purpose of today, let's focus on New Hampshire's unique piece of nuclear weapons history.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that I don't have nuclear bombs that close to my backyard anymore.
It's definitely funny to think about New Hampshire having strategic importance in the Cold War. And I think that New Hampshire has actually had strategic importance throughout a lot of the military history in the United States because of that location.
Right, the Portsmouth Conference, and
Yeah, yeah. So maybe we should be, maybe they really do need to resurrect and clean up this bill. I mean, I really don't know how restaurants and national monuments got in there. Some other questions also about are they going to prosecute the country of China? We didn't even get into that, but New Hampshire, man, we're strategically important.
that's right. Yeah, we gotta protect ourselves. The people are coming to spy on us, and who could blame them? We have a lot going on, right? Uh, that wraps it up for this episode of $100 plus mileage. But you can find more information and episodes at citizenscount.org. This podcast is made possible by a generous grant from Northeast Delta Dental. We'd also like to thank Franklin Pierce University for producing and the Granite State News Collaborative for hosting. Our theme music is composed by me, Mike Dunbar. And lastly, we thank you for giving us a listen and thinking about how you can be part of what makes New Hampshire by the people, for the people.